The conclusion I've come to is incredibly wild, that those in charge have been successful in keeping secret the greatest story of mankind.
The evidence is overwhelming that Earth is being visited by intelligently controlled extraterrestrial spacecraft.
The CIA guy standing next to me says, we're confiscating all this data and you're all sworn to secrecy.
They've all been studying this. They have more data than I do.
So the government has dumped disinformation and misinformation into the field for decades. They've undermined research.
I have lost faith in representative government. I truly think we're in gridlock, it doesn't work, and so we need to make a change.
I think it's ignorant of any people not to seek out what we need to know to continue the universe.
You give this committee a lot of reasons for us to say, open those files.
You're walking up to it and you touch it. What do you do? Touch it that? Do you grab it? Tell us about that.
Okay. I started doing the walk around 360 of the object. And as I came around, I seen there was an inscription on the front. And
this is what you saw, right?
That's what I saw. So I started walking around the craft, and I seen the glyphs, and as I, ran my hand from the fabric of the craft, it was smooth to touch.
You ran your hands along it?
Oh, yeah.
I believe that the time is now to lift the veil of secrecy that has shrouded this subject for over 60 years, and the subject of UFOs should now be openly accepted in the mainstream media.
They exist, they are here to save us against the insanity of our leaders.
I agree with you, they should open those Roswell files.
There's only one way to regain trust. Find and tell the truth.
If it's out there, if it's real, we have a right to know.
I have a UFO report. What they drew, these four people pretty much agreed that actually what they drew, it looked like a fedora hat.
I saw something spectacular in the sky.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly Our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
People want to know what a UFO is, and therefore any chance that we have to learn, we should take advantage of it. When you tell an American, I can't explain it, he wants to know, why can't you explain it? Why doesn't someone explain it? And I think that kind of pressure is going to change the view of many government officials and members of Congress in the future. I think the people should be told. I think there's nothing which is more frightening than to be confronted with something that is new, and particularly in this area. And through knowledge, we can perhaps relieve the fears of a lot of people. I want to know. I should know. I deserve to know. And this curiosity which I have and which is whetted by the various sightings is such that I want to pursue it, just as I think the great majority of the American people would like to pursue the question in order to come to the place where they have an answer.
With about 20 other men, and we saw a bright light appear in the distant western skies, and it got closer and closer, and when it was just above the treetops, it changed color, and then it stayed there for a while, and then it disappeared into the distance. And none of us could ever imagine what it was, and I still don't know what it was.
States Air Force did recover alien bodies. They didn't tell me about it either, and I want to know.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Disclosure is at hand. It is very close, and the American people need to prepare themselves very soon for an announcement from our government that there is, in fact, an extraterrestrial presence engaging this planet and the human race.
So I believe that the notion of open government, freedom of information, the fundamental tenets of the Freedom of Information Act are really part and parcel of our First Amendment rights. I think it's time to open the books on questions that have remained in the dark, on the question of government investigations of UFOs. It's time to find out what the truth really is that's out there. We ought to do it really because it's right. We ought to do it because the American people, quite frankly, can handle the truth. And we ought to do it because it's the law.
Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating. Dude, there's a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating.
UFOs have been the stuff of conspiracy theorists for decades, often mocked for talking about it, but maybe they shouldn't be mocked. Commander David Fravor spent 18 years as a naval aviator, a pilot. In 2004, he had an unforgettable encounter with an aircraft he said was defying the laws of physics. Former Commander Fravor joins us tonight. Thanks a lot for coming on tonight. Tell us what you saw.
Well, we had launched on a routine training mission. When we joined up, we were told that the event was going to be canceled and that we had real-world tasking, and we were sent out to the west. Now, take in mind that this has taken place about 100 miles southwest of San Diego, between San Diego and Ensenada, Mexico, on a clear, perfect day, blue waters. We get out to the spot where they tell us it's at. We start looking around, and both airplanes see a disturbance in the water and a white 40-foot long tic-tac shaped object just hovering above the water, going forward, back, left, right. There's no rotor wash, there's no wings, nothing. So as we drive around in a clockwise flow, we get to about the 9 o'clock position, and I said, well, I'm going to go down and check it out, and the other jet is going to stay high. So as we go down, when we get to the 12 o'clock position, it starts to mirror us. So it's in a clockwise flow, and it's on the opposite side of the circle from us. And we continue this. It's in a climb, we're in a descent. We're getting a great look at it. This whole thing takes about probably up to 5 minutes from the time we show up. I get over to the 8 o'clock position. It's at about the 2 o'clock position, and I decide I'm going to go and see what it is, and it's about 2,000 feet below me. And I cut across the circle, and as I get within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerates to the south in about 2 seconds and disappears.
What would you estimate the speed?
Oh, well above supersonic. It like a bullet out of a gun, it took off.
So from what you know about aerodynamics, mechanics, physics, should this be possible, what you saw?
Not with the technology that we have today. Not at all.
Even now, even 13 years later, is there anything that you know of capable of this kind of behavior?
No, there's nothing I know of. I mean, when we saw the video with the IR, it has no exhaust, no discernible things of anything form of propulsion. And this thing came from a dead hover over the water, just kind of moving around, to a climb up to about 12,000 feet to rapidly accelerating away in a climb, and in less than 2 seconds it was gone. And you figure you're talking 50 miles of visibility, and you can easily see an object that size easily out to 10 miles, and it just disappeared in seconds.
What would be the effects on a human pilot of the G-forces involved in that altitude change?
Well, the altitude wouldn't be bad. It would be the acceleration of the object.
That's right.
Honestly, I wanted to fly it.
Yeah,
but, I bet. Talking to some physicists, they don't think the human body could handle that kind of force with that acceleration.
It doesn't sound like the human body could. So bottom line, what do you think this was?
I believe, as do the other folks that were on the flight when we visually saw it, that it was something not from this world.
When presumably you expressed that belief to your superiors, what did they say?
Actually, we caught a lot of grief getting back to the boat, and it got passed off as an event that no one could explain. Now, keep in mind, they had been tracking these for 2 weeks prior to us seeing it, and this was the first time that manned airplanes had been airborne when the objects appeared.
This feels like a really big story to me. It's not exactly clear why Vladimir Putin's more interesting than this. I think this seems like a big deal. And Commander, I appreciate your taking the time to talk to us about it. You seem sober and believable, and I appreciate it.
Why, thank you very much, Tucker.
Thanks.
It's not moving at all. I hear some helicopters coming, but we don't know what's going on here. Here comes a helicopter now. Trying to see what's going on over here. It's going towards the object. The circle is going to go toward it. But who knows what's going on here. It's kind of weird. The helicopter's going toward it now. Look, the helicopter's going toward it, Julian. The helicopter's going toward it now. Yeah, it's checking it out. It's like, what's going on? The helicopter circling it. There's nothing really. There's nothing holding it down, though. That's the thing. There's nothing holding it down. UFO in West Covina, San Gabriel Valley. Helicopter is circling it. What's today, Monday, Julian? Looks like a what? Eyeball? Yeah. Looks like a big eyeball. Helicopter's leaving the area. Looks like a big eyeball. There's a duck flying under it now. Well, my friends, is a UFO over San Gabriel Valley, and it's early morning, 7 o'clock or so, 6:40 something, and it's still up there. Look like something sticking out of it, huh?
Moved?
Yeah, like it rotated. But it looks like there's something coming out of it, right?
Yeah. I just saw like a little thing of light that was like some light, you know, like.
Is it a weather balloon or is it a UFO?
Yeah. I could see like a little thing sticking out of the bottom.
No, on the top it looks like a kind of like a dinosaur
I
egg.
could see like a little laser thing on the bottom.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like it's a really long one.
Oh yeah, can you see it? I can't. It looks like an egg.
Yeah, it looks
like a bird hatching out of an egg. Well, it looks like a perfect sphere though, huh?
I know.
That's weird. As you can see, let's zoom out, pan out. It's fairly big size for it to be floating up in the air just for fun.